Boom, baby.
This the ugly ass price.
You got me
I got 5 on it, yeah.
Secrets can build walls between people that no one can see until those walls come crashing down, often with devastating consequences. Some secrets are harmless, but others, they slowly poison relationships from the inside out. They create distance, suspicion, and ultimately can trigger violence that changes lives forever. What happens when a secret relationship turns deadly? When a man's hidden life becomes too much to contain? When family members stumble upon a truth that was never meant to be discovered. In this case, a man's secret life, allegedly involving his own cousin, led to an explosion of violence that would claim 3 lives in a single night. 3 women who knew too much. 3 women who, perhaps, threatened to expose what he had fought so desperately to keep hidden. This isn't just a story about murder. It's about what happens when secrets become too heavy to carry. On June 24th, 2024, in Manatee County, Florida, what began as an ordinary summer evening erupted into a night of terror that spanned multiple locations and left 3 women dead. First, at a Motel 6 in Bradenton, a mother was gunned down in front of her boyfriend and young daughters. Then, in Palmetto, during a family cookout, a 29-year-old woman was shot while getting into her car. Finally, at a residence in Bradenton, a 3rd woman was killed during an argument. All 3 murders occurred within less than an hour. Law enforcement quickly identified 28-year-old Javanti Bree as the shooter, launching a statewide manhunt that ended near the Florida-Georgia border. When confronted by deputies, Bree opened fire, resulting in a shootout that left him dead and brought the killing spree to an end. But the question remains, what drove him to commit these horrific acts? Before we continue with this shocking case, I want to take a moment to connect with you. Yes, you watching right now. What do you think drives someone to murder their own family members? What secrets could be worth killing for? I genuinely want to know your thoughts, so pause this video right now and drop your theories in the comments below. If this is your first time here, welcome to True Crime Case Tapes. We explore cases like this one every week, breaking down what happened and, more importantly, why it happened. Hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you never miss an upload. For those who've been here before, thank you for coming back. Your support means everything. If you find value in these deep dives into human behavior, please like this video and share it with someone who appreciates true crime analysis as much as you do. Now, let's get back to this devastating case. Javanti Bree wasn't a stranger to violence. At 28, he had already fathered 12 children and accumulated a record of domestic battery and assault charges. Court documents show a man who repeatedly lashed out at those closest to him, a pattern that would culminate in the events of June 24th. What makes this case particularly disturbing is the calculated nature of the murders. Bree didn't snap in a moment of rage. He traveled to 3 separate locations to kill specific targets: his mother, his cousin, and his ex-girlfriend's new partner. This wasn't random violence, it was deliberate, targeted elimination. At the center of this story lies a family secret that would ultimately prove fatal. Rumors swirled that Javanti was involved in an intimate relationship with his cousin, Sakuya. While investigators never confirmed this allegation, what's clear is that family dynamics played a crucial role in the violence that followed. Whatever the nature of their relationship, something triggered Bree to silence those who may have known his secrets. In the coming minutes, we'll explore what investigators discovered, what family members revealed, and how a web of relationships became a trap that caught 3 innocent women in its deadly grasp. Javanti Bree grew up in Tampa, Florida, where his life was marked by instability from an early age. Those who knew him described a young man with potential who gradually became more volatile as he entered adulthood. By 28, he had established a pattern of troubled relationships and aggressive behavior that concerned many around him. Neighbors and acquaintances often saw different sides of Bree. To some, he appeared as a devoted father trying to manage his complicated life. To others, particularly those closest to him, he revealed a much darker personality, marked by jealousy, possessiveness, and sudden outbursts of anger. Bree didn't maintain steady employment, instead moving between temporary jobs that rarely lasted. This financial insecurity added pressure to his already strained personal relationships. As his frustrations mounted, those who witnessed his decline noted how his demeanor changed. His eyes hardened, his speech became more threatening, and his actions more unpredictable. Bree's relationship with violence began early. Court records reveal a disturbing pattern that escalated over time, from verbal threats to physical assaults. Multiple women reported incidents of strangulation, a particularly dangerous form of domestic abuse often linked to future homicide. His emotional instability manifested in other ways too. In 2021, he shot himself in the abdomen after posting concerning messages online. This self-harm incident resulted in his involuntary commitment under Florida's Baker Act for psychological evaluation. Unfortunately, the follow-up care proved insufficient. Despite clear evidence of psychological distress, Bree received minimal ongoing support after discharge. The complexity of Bree's life was perhaps best illustrated by his role as father to 12 children with multiple mothers. Each relationship seemed to follow a similar trajectory: initial charm followed by controlling behavior, jealousy, and eventually violence. These entangled family dynamics created constant tension. Child support obligations he couldn't meet, custody disputes that turned hostile, and overlapping relationships all contributed to his mounting frustration. Former partners described how Bree would use the children as pawns, threatening custody battles when relationships soured. This web of parental responsibilities became both a source of stress and a means to manipulate the mothers of his children. Bree's criminal record told a story of escalation. His first domestic violence charge came at age 20, when he assaulted a girlfriend during an argument about text messages on her phone. Charges were dropped when the victim refused to testify. By 24, his offenses had intensified. He faced charges for battery by strangulation after choking a different partner until she lost consciousness. Despite the severity, plea agreements reduced many charges, resulting in probation rather than incarceration. In another disturbing incident, Bree held a woman captive in her apartment for 3 days, taking her phone and threatening harm if she attempted to leave. When she finally escaped to a neighbor's home, Bree kicked down the door in pursuit. Each legal intervention represented a missed opportunity. Court-mandated anger management classes were attended sporadically. Probation requirements were met minimally. The system's revolving door kept turning, failing to address the underlying causes of his violent behavior. In 2022, after threatening to shoot an ex-girlfriend, authorities finally took more decisive action. The judge issued a risk protection order, Florida's version of a red flag law, prohibiting Bree from purchasing or possessing firearms for 1 year. During the hearing, evidence presented showed text messages containing specific threats against the woman and her family. The judge deemed Bree an imminent danger to himself and others. For 12 months, this order provided some protection. But crucial failings occurred when it expired. No reassessment took place. No extension was considered. The protection simply vanished, leaving Bree free to arm himself once again. In the days before June 24th, those around Bree noticed alarming changes in his behavior. Family members later told investigators he seemed off and unusually agitated. The morning of the murders, Bree's sister witnessed him threaten another ex-girlfriend. She managed to defuse the situation temporarily, but described her brother as not himself. His eyes vacant, his words disjointed. That afternoon, he showed up unexpectedly at several relatives' homes, making strange statements about fixing things and making everything right. These visits left family members uneasy, but no one anticipated the violence that would follow just hours later. Bree's social media activity painted a disturbing picture in the hours before the killings. At 7:13 p.m., he posted, "Some people don't deserve to breathe the same air as the rest of us." By 8:30 p.m., his messages grew more explicit. "When they find out what you've done, there's only one way to keep them quiet." His final post at 9:02 p.m., just minutes before the first murder, was simply, "No turning back now. The truth dies tonight." These digital breadcrumbs revealed his intentions, Yet no one who saw these posts recognized them as immediate threats requiring intervention. By the time they were understood, it was already too late. June 24, 2024 began like any other summer day in Florida, but for Javanti Bryce, something had shifted. Family members would later tell investigators that Bryce's behavior seemed strange and not normal from the moment he woke up. By mid-morning, his sister observed him threatening one of his ex-girlfriends over the phone. She managed to calm the situation temporarily, but noted his vacant stare and unusual demeanor. Throughout the afternoon, Bryce made unexpected appearances at relatives' homes. During these visits, he made odd statements about fixing problems and making things right. Each encounter left family members concerned but uncertain how to respond. As evening approached, Bryce's movements became more purposeful. He retrieved a handgun, illegally obtained after his protection order expired, and began driving around Manatee County. By 9 p.m., his aimless wandering had transformed into a determined mission with specific targets in mind. At approximately 9:15 p.m., security cameras at the Motel 6 in Bradenton captured Bryce's dark sedan pulling into the parking lot. Inside room 217, his mother Titisha Scott, 48, was staying temporarily with her boyfriend and Bryce's younger sisters. Witnesses reported that Bryce knocked calmly on the door. When his mother answered, there was no argument, no raised voices, just a brief exchange before multiple gunshots shattered the quiet evening. Hotel guests in adjacent rooms described hearing a woman's scream cut short, followed by the thunder of 4 to 5 gunshots in rapid succession. Bryce's younger sisters, hiding in the bathroom, later told police they heard their brother's voice just before the shooting began. Motel staff called 911 at 9:18 p.m., but by then, Bryce had already returned to his vehicle and was driving away, leaving his mother dying on the motel room floor. What makes the first murder particularly disturbing are the words Bryce spoke to his mother moments before pulling the trigger. According to his younger sister, who overheard the exchange from the bathroom, Bryce told Titisha, "I'm sorry, Mom. You shouldn't have found out." This brief, apologetic statement suggests that Titisha had discovered something, perhaps about Bryce's relationship with his cousin Sakuya, that he couldn't allow her to reveal. The apology, paradoxically human amid such inhumanity, offers a glimpse into Bryce's fragmented mindset, remorseful yet determined, emotional yet calculating, as he executed what appeared to be a predetermined plan. After leaving the motel, Bryce drove approximately 20 minutes to Palmetto, where his cousin Sakuya Jonkila Bryce, 29, was attending a family cookout. Cell phone records show he called her twice during the drive, though the content of these conversations remains unknown. At around 9:40 p.m., Sakuya walked to her car, preparing to leave the gathering. Witnesses reported seeing Bryce's vehicle pull up alongside hers. Security footage from a neighboring house captured their brief conversation through car windows before Bryce exited his vehicle. Whatever was said, the exchange quickly escalated. Multiple witnesses heard Sakuya shout, "You can't do this." Moments before gunshots rang out, Bryce fired 3 times, striking his cousin in the chest and neck. Family members rushed to help, but Sakuya's injuries proved fatal. She was pronounced dead at the scene. With 2 victims already left behind, Bryce's deadly journey continued. At approximately 10:05 p.m., he arrived at a residence in Bradenton where Sherelle Carter, 31, lived with one of Bryce's ex-girlfriends. Unlike the previous encounters, this confrontation began with immediate hostility. Neighbors reported hearing loud argument for several minutes before the violence erupted. One witness overheard Bryce shouting about loyalty and keeping secrets. When Carter attempted to call 911, Bryce grabbed the phone and smashed it. His ex-girlfriend managed to escape through a back door with her children, but Carter found herself trapped in the kitchen as Bryce advanced. During the struggle that followed, Bryce shot Carter multiple times at close range. First responders arrived within minutes of neighbors reporting gunshots, but they were too late. Carter became the 3rd victim of Bryce's methodical rampage. After the 3rd murder, Bryce's plans expanded beyond Manatee County. Text messages recovered from his phone revealed his intention to drive to Georgia, where another ex-girlfriend lived with their shared children. "You're next," he messaged her at 10:23 p.m. "Nobody talks about my business and lives." By 11 p.m., Florida authorities had issued a statewide alert for Bree's vehicle. Highway patrol officers spotted his car heading north on I-75 near the Florida-Georgia border. For over 2 hours, Bree managed to evade capture, driving at high speeds while sending increasingly threatening messages. I need to pause here and ask you something important. What do you think was driving Javanti Bree to eliminate these specific people from his life? Was it the alleged relationship with his cousin? Was it fear of exposure? Or was it something deeper? A culmination of untreated psychological issues and a lifetime of violence. If you have a theory about what motivated these murders, I want you to share it right now in the comments below. Your perspective might highlight something others haven't considered. While you're typing, please hit that like button to help this video reach more people who are interested in understanding the psychology behind family violence. These cases are difficult to discuss, but they contain valuable lessons about human behavior and the consequences of secrets kept too long. If you appreciate this deep analysis, subscribing shows me which stories matter most to you. Now let's continue with what happened to the victims. Titisha Scott was more than just the first victim in this tragedy. She was a 48-year-old woman, described by friends as resilient and protective of her family. Working as a nursing assistant for over 15 years, Titisha dedicated her life to caring for others, a quality that extended to her relationship with her troubled son. Despite Javanti's history of aggression, those close to Titisha said she never gave up trying to guide him toward stability. She'd recently moved to the motel temporarily while searching for a new apartment, taking her younger daughters with her for a fresh start. The relationship between mother and son had grown strained in recent months. According to family members, Titisha had become increasingly concerned about Javanti's behavior and had confronted him about rumors she'd heard. This confrontation, it seems, may have sealed her fate as his first target. Sakuya Jonkila Bree, 29, worked as a pharmacy technician and was raising 2 children as a single mother. Known for her quick laugh and generosity, she was popular within the extended family and often hosted gatherings like the cookout, where she lost her life. The rumors about a relationship between Sakuya and Javanti began circulating months before the murders. Family members reported seeing them together frequently, often in intense private conversations. Some relatives noticed uncomfortable tension between them at family events. While investigators never confirmed an inappropriate relationship, text messages recovered from Sakuya's phone showed exchanges with Javanti that suggested a connection beyond typical family bonds. One message sent 3 weeks before her murder read, "We need to stop. People are talking." Whatever the nature of their relationship, it appears Sakuya may have wanted to end it, a decision that potentially contributed to her becoming his second victim. Cheryl Carter had known Javanti Bree for less than a year. As the new partner of one of Bree's ex-girlfriends, Carter found herself unwittingly drawn into a volatile situation. The 31-year-old worked as a hairstylist and was described by clients as positive and solution-oriented. Friends said Carter had expressed concerns about Bree's obsessive behavior toward her girlfriend, documenting instances when he would park outside their home or send threatening messages. Just 2 weeks before her murder, Carter had accompanied her partner to the courthouse to inquire about restraining order options. What made Carter particularly vulnerable was her knowledge of the family's complicated dynamics. According to her girlfriend's statement to police, Carter had overheard phone conversations between the ex-girlfriend and Titisha Scott about Javanti's relationship with Sakuya. Making her a potential witness, Bree needed to silence. These 3 women were connected through their proximity to Javanti Bree, each holding pieces of information that threatened to expose aspects of his life he wanted hidden. Their relationships formed an intricate web of knowledge that ultimately placed them in danger. Titisha, as his mother, had begun questioning her son about his relationship with Sakuya. Phone records show multiple lengthy calls between mother and son in the week before the murders, including one that lasted over an hour the day before. Sakuya shared blood ties with Javanti, but possibly crossed boundaries that complicated their family relationship. Text messages suggest she wanted to end whatever connection they had developed. Carter became entangled through her relationship with Brace's ex-girlfriend. As an outsider looking in, she may have seen patterns and connections that family members normalized or overlooked, making her perspective particularly threatening to Brace's carefully maintained secrecy. The aftermath left families fractured and communities shocked. Titisha's younger daughters, who witnessed their mother's murder, required extensive therapy and were placed with relatives. Sakuya's children lost their mother and had to process the complicated reality that a family member was responsible. The ripple effects extended beyond immediate families. Funeral services brought painful reunions as relatives grappled with divided loyalties and unanswered questions. Some family members reported receiving anonymous threats, suggesting the violence might have continued had Bree survived. "We're not just burying our loved ones," said one relative. "We're burying our sense of trust in each other." After hours of pursuit, law enforcement located Brace's vehicle near the Florida-Georgia border in Hamilton County around 1:30 a.m. on June 25th. Deputies from multiple agencies coordinated to set up roadblocks on I-75, finally forcing Brace to stop. Body camera footage showed officers repeatedly ordering Brace to exit his vehicle with hands visible. Instead, after a tense 2-minute standoff, he emerged holding his firearm and immediately opened fire on deputies. Officers returned fire in a brief but intense exchange that left Brace fatally wounded. Medical responders pronounced him dead at the scene at 2:17 a.m., ending the manhunt but leaving countless questions unanswered. Ballistics later confirmed the weapon Brace used against deputies was the same one used in all 3 murders. A subsequent investigation by the Florida Department of Law Enforcement determined the officer's use of deadly force was justified under the circumstances. Examining Javanti Brace's psychological profile reveals a complex intersection of factors driving his violence. His behavior displayed classic traits of someone with severe emotional regulation difficulties and possible paranoid thinking patterns. The primary motive appears to be fear of exposure. Brace was eliminating people who threatened to reveal his secrets. His text messages showed increasing preoccupation with loyalty and betrayal in the weeks before the murders. Another factor was his need for control. When relationships or situations threatened his sense of power, violence became his solution. This explains why he targeted not just those who knew his secrets, but those who challenged his authority within relationships. When psychological problems go untreated, they rarely improve on their own. In Brace's case, his documented history of emotional instability presented multiple opportunities for intervention. The 2021 incident when he shot himself should have triggered long-term care rather than just temporary observation. Research indicates that approximately 60% of individuals who commit violent acts against others show previous evidence of serious psychological disturbances. The disconnect between crisis response and sustained treatment represents a critical failure point in our system. Temporary holds and brief evaluations may address immediate dangers, but leave underlying issues unresolved. For individuals like Brace, emotional regulation skills, anger management techniques, and consistent therapeutic support could potentially interrupt pathways to violence. Studies of similar cases show that consistent treatment reduces violent behavior by approximately 45% among those with histories of aggression. The tragedy here extends beyond the murders. It includes a system that recognized his dangerous potential, yet failed to provide adequate intervention. Throughout Brace's history, numerous indicators of escalating danger went unaddressed. His social media posts containing threats should have prompted immediate action. His sister witnessed his threatening behavior toward an ex-girlfriend the very morning of the murders. The expiration of his risk protection order without reassessment represented a critical oversight. Previous strangulation incidents, widely recognized as predictors of future homicide, resulted in reduced charges rather than intensified intervention. Family members noticed his unusual behavior in the days before the murders, but lacked guidance on how to respond effectively. Each missed opportunity represented a potential diversion from the path that led to these killings. The progression from initial violence to homicide often follows a predictable pattern. First comes verbal aggression and threats, followed by physical violence that increases in severity over time. Strangulation, which appeared in Bree's history, represents a particularly dangerous escalation. Research shows it increases homicide risk by 750%. Controlling behaviors, jealousy, and weapon access, all present in this case, further elevate risk levels. The final stage often involves the perpetrator feeling cornered or exposed, perceiving murder as their only option. This explains why many domestic homicides occur when victims attempt to leave relationships or when perpetrators feel their control slipping away. Exactly what happened with Bree. The numbers tell a sobering story about violence within families. Approximately 1,200 women are killed by current or former intimate partners annually in the United States. In 20% of these cases, others are also killed, including family members, children, or new partners of the victim. When firearms are accessible to individuals with violent histories, fatality rates increase by 500%. Additionally, 54% of mass shootings, 4 or more victims, are related to domestic or family violence. Perhaps most relevant to this case, when perpetrators target multiple family members, it typically indicates long-standing tensions and perceived betrayal rather than sudden rage, suggesting these events are rarely truly unpredictable. Preventing similar tragedies requires multi-layered approaches. For individuals experiencing threatening behavior from family members, safety planning is essential. This includes documenting incidents, establishing code words with trusted contacts, and knowing local shelter information. Legal protections like restraining orders can help, but must be consistently enforced and reassessed before expiration. Many communities offer specialized advocacy services for domestic violence survivors that provide guidance through legal processes. For those concerned about a family member's escalating aggression, resources exist to help navigate intervention options. Family-initiated civil commitment procedures vary by state, but can provide pathways to mandatory treatment when necessary. Technology also offers new protection tools, including apps that can silently alert contacts to danger, and GPS monitoring systems for those under court supervision. Most importantly, recognizing concerning behaviors early. Threats, controlling actions, obsessive jealousy, and seeking professional guidance immediately can interrupt potential violence before it begins. I'm asking you now to do something that could literally save a life. Share this video with someone who needs this information, whether they're dealing with relationship violence themselves or concerned about someone who is. The patterns we've discussed today aren't random. They're recognizable, they're documented, and most importantly, they're preventable, but only if people know what to look for. Your comment below could start a conversation that helps someone recognize dangerous patterns in their own life. Your like helps this information reach more viewers. Your subscription supports our continued work highlighting these critical issues. If you know someone struggling, reach out. Sometimes just opening that door of communication can change everything. Thank you for spending this time learning about these difficult realities. By understanding these stories, we honor the victims and potentially protect future ones. I'll see you in the next case, and remember, awareness saves lives.